Hi there, I'm David. I live in the UK, more precisely the county of Yorkshire, and mission to explain the differences between the UK and other countries, especially the United States of America. Let's start by looking at television. In the UK, you need a TV license to watch television. Currently, this is £175, equivalent to 235 US dollars a year. All you need to do is pay this money. You don't need to pass any test of competency in operating a television set. The license fee goes to pay for BBC TV and radio and associated services, and must be paid by anyone in the UK watching live or recording live TV, even if those channels are not ones provided by the BBC. BBC TV and radio in the UK is commercial free. There are also public service broadcasters called or PSBs supported by commercials. These are ITV, Channel 4 and Channel 5. PSBs must provide news, children's and religious programming, plus local news on BBC and ITV, and these channels get the top slots on TV guides. So on TVs in the UK, BBC One is usually allocated the channel number 1 or 101 to BBC 2 or 102. 103 is therefore ITV or it may be on 3, etc., etc. So these channels get the top slots, hence why they have public service obligations. The other channels that exist are in pretty arbitrary positions depending on the service you are using. Increasingly, people are watching YouTube while you're watching me, and also watching streaming services like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, etc. And as such object to having to pay for a service, the BBC, that they don't use, and many people are refusing to pay. However, there are lots of people that may not watch BBC television, but do listen to BBC radio, and you don't need a license for just to listen to radio. But the money the BBC gets does go towards BBC radio. So why does the UK and the world need the BBC? The BBC is known worldwide for news, drama and comedy. And it could be argued that its best programmes are what keep British TV standards high. And without it, British TV would suffer. A number of suggestions on how to fund the BBC have been proposed. These include general taxation, local taxation, but these could distort the payments, meaning people on higher incomes may pay even more regardless of whether they use BBC services. I suspect eventually a thinner, leaner BBC might be the answer. Whereas the BBC currently broadcasts BBC One, its flagship channel, BBC Two, plus BBC Three and BBC Four, which the latter broadcast from 7 p.m. to around 2 a.m. BBC News and BBC Parliament, it could maybe be reduced to BBC One, BBC News and BBC Parliament, with the remaining channels folding into the BBC Studios commercial UK TV portfolio, either as linear channels or as on-demand content. These channels would therefore take advertising. The BBC also has radio stations beyond UK-wide stations, radios 1 to 6, and the nations, Scotland, Wales and Ulster. The local stations have been hollowed out to the extent that now they could just broadcast BBC Two with opt-outs at breakfast and drive time. Why not keep the BBC channels as now, but fund them by showing commercials? TV companies are struggling to keep going, and as some of the advertising spend is going, streamers, which have the benefit of being able to target users' hobbies and needs, have a much more precise way of gaining valued advertising. Having the BBC also compete for advertising will reduce commercial spending on all the other channels. So in conclusion, I think major changes to BBC funding are likely to cause reduction in television quality and further reduce public service television broadcasting. Maybe this is inevitable, but sadly, like many things in life, we're unlikely to realise what we had until it's finally gone. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts, and in the next video I will be looking at radio specifically, and very specifically the death of local radio. So I do hope you can join me there, as all the people on YouTube say. If you've enjoyed this, why not like and subscribe?